rise to the pledge, please. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Welcome to the October 25th work session. We have public comment, 3 minutes. John?
How you doing? John Kosciusko, 7 Dover's Path. I wanted to find out what this board's intent to do with the trustee roads as we're coming into the summer season next year. And second, the next question would be the additional space, the property that the village owns to the east of Trustee Road F. What is the intent there? Last year we were looking to expand that area. It seemed to be had fallen by the wayside. I don't know what happened there. I'd like to see what's going to happen there.
Okay. The intent of the roads A, B, C, D's already paved, E, F, and G, where F is already an access road, is to meet the minimum requirements of the D, which means that we have to provide an access from Meadow Lane to the beach. We are clearing a path on the roads that need a path cleared and do not have wetlands. And there's one that has significant wetlands on it, so there's no movement that's going to go on. And I'm not in favor of providing any type of parking in those roads, and I'm going to be, asking for legislation to designate those no parking areas.
On the ocean side, what about the bay side?
On the ocean side.
Side.
We're just working on because right now we're just talking about from Meadow Lane to the oceanfront beach. So
when will that resolution come in place?
The next meeting, I'm hoping that a draft legislation will be brought by the village attorney. I'm going to ask him tonight to do it, and then we'll start the public hearing on that. So.
Okay. And so we should look in the paper for that. Also, what about the additional space on the Trustee Road F?
We haven't really decided one way or the other on that. Right now, we tried to look at an overall master plan for that area, which, as you know, was met with a lot of pushback from everyone. And so we closed the public hearings and have put everything kind of in a holding position at this point in time.
Okay. I just want to see if you guys are working on things during the winter where, a lot of stuff isn't taking place, and now's the time to really actually do it.
Yep. And again, I see no movement from the town or the town trustees when it comes to open additional parking.
We go there about the trustee roads, and they can't talk about legal, their attorney says they can't talk because of legal, and, I think they're going to try to take them back. I just don't want to see a taxpayer money spent both ways for something that we could really come together as, and decide.
So that's why we are, and I know that they've made that threat about those the letter roads along Meadow Lane, and that's why we are going to meet the requirements of the deed to ensure that the Village of Southampton continues to own them and have control over that area.
I don't think parking's going to be a sticking point if there's no parking.
The deed doesn't call for it.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. Thanks. Okay, Jay.
Jay Deasing, a resident of the village at 109 Old Town Crossing. I don't know if there's been any public comment or feedback on the changes to the brick and wrought iron fencing on Job's Lane, but I think it came out great. So
Thanks.
Congratulations. I know there was a lot of angst about that, and it looks good. Was it village workers that did a lot of the work there, or?
All contracted.
All contracted out. Well, they did a great job. You really can't tell that it's not original. It really looks great, and it opens it up just enough, but not too much. So congratulations. Thanks.
Anyone else from the public would like to speak? Okay, we're going to close this public comment section. We have board presentations. Gary Gillespie.
Good evening. I guess I'm here first for a new sweeper for the Highway Department. We are trying to replace a 2007 Schwarz Freightliner sweeper that has seen better days. The hopper, the chute is completely rotted out from salt on that unit. A lot of the controls are rotted out by salt. It is still in operation, but we would like to sell that unit off for anybody who might take it, even if it goes to scrap. We'd be looking at a new unit from the Johnston Company called Johnston North America. We've demoed this sweeper at the town of Southampton. They own one. We looked at the Johnston. We also looked at an Elgin sweeper we demoed in our yard. The effect of both sweepers was pretty equal. Most of the guys said it's a brand new sweeper, it does a great job. The reason we looked at the Johnston was we felt the controls were a little more simple, more located in one area where they shouldn't have corrosion. We liked the fact that it has a stainless steel hopper on it with a lifetime warranty. And actually, when I went through the contracts, we found that the Johnston had one at $243,000 and change. The Elgin came in a little higher at $254,000. And we also looked at a Schwarz sweeper, even though it wouldn't be our preferred model, that was about $261,000. So we found the Johnston on a bid price at HGAC buy, which is just like NJPA. Mark, that's the contract I asked you to sign earlier in the week. This will allow us to go out and purchase this tonight, if you say so. We wouldn't have to go out and get public bids.
Bill, do you have any comments around?
I think the one you're replacing has truly not only seen better days, it will never see good days again. And I think to bite the bullet.
Yeah. These sweepers are something extremely important for
Older unit was new, I think they're about the same.
I'm astonished listening. I can tell you just how often the village is swept from my house. I can hear that.
Yeah, and you're not hearing the mechanics so much as you're hearing that broom on the ground making that noise, so it's that agitation. Well, we do have a vac sweeper also, but this is a mechanical sweeper we're talking about.
Is the mechanical sweeper less noisy than the vac sweeper?
I would say so, yeah. We usually run with two different kinds. We alternate a buy, every 7 or 10 years, and because one is good at picking up leaves and one is good at picking up sediment.
Which one is this good for?
The mechanical is better for sediment.
Sediment, right?
So it's better for our Main Street area. The salt, sand, it gets all that pretty well.
sweeps it up.
Construction sites, things like that.
Great.
So we use them both in tandem, and by alternating, we kind of keep one of each going.
Okay. Bill, did you want to make a resolution authorizing to go out to bid? For the purchase, actually, if this, yeah.
Purchase.
Raise a resolution. We move this purchase as recommended by Harry Gillespie. Second.
Second?
All right.
Thank you. Just note that that has to be made out to Johnston, North America, and you have that.
How long will this take?
Approximately 12 weeks to get the unit, but I would probably try to hold it off the streets until the spring. We'll use our older one up until it fails, let it take all the abuse of the salt over the winter, and we'll start fresh early spring. Okay. Thank you.
Great. And then pave the sidewalks. Yeah.
Sidewalks.
You thought you were going to get out of here, right?
Well, we made it down the street today, reassessing what we want to do without too many people coming out and speaking to us, but we've gotten a lot of phone calls of what are all the new marks that are on Main Street and Jobs Lane.
Let's actually just set the history a little bit. So one of the goals over the last several years is to improve public safety, and sidewalk sidewalks are a big issue around here. We have a lot of trip and falls that have been occurring, especially in the last couple of years, mostly due to the sidewalks crumbling and tree root systems pushing them up. And we go through, when we identify an area, we go through and shave down the concrete and try to make it flat. So what we've asked Gary to do is look at a sidewalk replacement program on Main Street, Jobs Lane, and Hampton Road, and develop a timeline around doing that. So that's where we're at right now. We're talking about the what is it? The south side of Main Street and
No, it's the west side.
the west side of Main Street and the north side of Jobs Lane, and then part of Hampton Road.
A little part of Hampton Road and also a little part of North Main Street.
North Main Street, yeah. So.
That sidewalk on North Main Street's in bad shape?
Yeah, actually, before the changeover to the CVS there was a lot of construction done, and things were rolled over that sidewalk, and it's been in a cracked shape there, since. So it's been quite a few years now.
All right.
We'd probably be running that right up to the edge of that parking lot, and then from there on, you hit Dunkerlee's, the sidewalk is good again.
And it's bad over by Pottery Barn?
Yes, in front of that area, we do have some new sidewalk, but when it was put in, it wasn't really done. I shouldn't say it wasn't done as a good job. It doesn't match up with the surrounding sidewalk. There are flags there that are cracked on North Main Street, and there's also some sinking on the Hampton Road side of that corner too.
So you're not doing any parts on south of Jobs and east on Main? No, I don't see any.
I kind of thought it would be too much to bite off in this village if we closed down the sidewalks on both sides of the street.
Okay, so that'll be the next phase or something.
So we could look in the spring, or if we could get to this point next year after the summer and, do a phase two. I hope we keep going. One additional thing on Main Street we discussed today on site, which I mentioned to Nancy, is when we pull the forms out for the sidewalk on Main, since that's a full run, we want to put an 1.5 inch irrigation pipe all the way down that side of the street. That'll give us a trunk line for the trees for the future.
So
We would have to work from that point of tying it into the service here at Village Hall, and then, bringing drip lines out to the trees eventually, but at least we get the trunk line in.
And electric, we talked about doing that, but it's all underneath the bricks.
Correct. And we do have conduit under those bricks for all the street lights, so, we get into the brick area. If we want to do more lighting, more electric, we can pull runs from existing.
Okay.
And then we can just identify where the pipes are short and bring those into the tree areas, should we like to do that.
When are you looking to do it?
Speaking with the guys today, they will have availability as early as next week.
How long do you think it'll take to go down and do all
Well, the idea is that if we started next week, they could wrap up the lion's share by Thanksgiving weekend. They don't say they'd be 100%, but they would have most of it done and out of the way. And we're going to be living here for a couple of weeks with building ramps to storefronts, et cetera. They would also do that work under a PO.
Okay.
there'll be ramps to the stores, though, so people can get into the stores. if
Correct,
they're-
correct.
I mean, they can go in from the rear on a lot of them, too, but...
And all the store owners,
It's about the holiday season, that's...
all the store owners have been notified?
No, we haven't notified anybody yet, because I wanted to speak to you first. We looked at a first estimate of about $228,000 for this work. After today, that number will probably go up somewhat. I could really only guess. Maybe it's another $30,000, $40,000. Today I walked with the masons, we got a little more specific on, this ramp or that, or where we're going to cut it in front of the storefront. But 228 is the starting point, and we would go from there.
There's never a good time to do this.
Yeah.
I mean, no matter how you look at it, you can't do it in the dead of the winter because you have snow, it's cold weather, lots of issues that way. Then when we come into spring, everybody's getting ready, painting and getting their buildings. It's never a good time. You can't do it during the summer. This is probably the best time to do it.
It's our best shot. If it rains, that'll slow us down, and that'll push that date further back. But
I thought water was good for concrete.
not if you're working in it.
You need to notify the store owners
We definitely do.
as soon as you can.
And done well before Christmas?
We're hoping for
weekend.
Thanksgiving. But by Christmas, that should be a given.
I mean, I think it's wonderful. It's a good beginning, and we have to start somewhere. I do know, because I am on Hampton Road, I'm not talking about my building, but as I walk closer to like Sarasota,
Yeah, it's awful.
it's awful. I mean, it is so, and people are in and out of there all the time, and we have holes in the sidewalk. I'm just wondering if we could patch a little of that temporarily until we can get to that street.
We can certainly
We do.
have our masons patch.
Better.
I didn't want this thing to get so big that we didn't do it.
Right.
I agree with that.
Is it completely, every existing bit of sidewalks being removed and replaced, or just piecemeal?
Only on Main Street. The Main Street west side would be in entirety until you got down to the Golden Pear, where that sidewalk is all new.
Job's Lane would be
Job's
piecemeal?
Lane is sporadic. We would be starting at Windmill Lane, and we'd be taking a long run there. Then as you approach the 25 Jobs,
Yeah.
there's some new sidewalk there that we would skip. And then, of course, the other two areas, North Main and Hampton Road, are just small areas we would be doing. Main Street's really the biggie, one end to the other. That's where we seem to have a lot of trips and falls.
Yeah.
And would the water go down Job's too, the water main?
It wouldn't because of the trees. We have so many large trees, we don't really have a way to get those pipes around those trees without cutting their roots. Main Street, we have a lot more room where we can put that water line up much higher.
It's disappointing. Is there any way we could do it on the roadway then?
We could slot cut the roadway and break through the curb and bring it in.
I just want our trees to get irrigation, because we're never going to be able to, part of the problem with the trees, which I brought up at our last meeting when we had our meeting with Bartlett, is that we're losing trees, and it's because of the drought. We've had 2 years of drought, we're not watering them, and if you notice, a lot of them have dead growth at the top. That's an indication that they're water deficient. So, we're going to trim those, and we're going to deep root feed them and hope for the best. But until we start feeding them with water, when we had the pachysandra, they did get a little extra water because we'd water the pachysandra, but now we don't have that anymore. And basically the trees, we have a lot of dead trees on Main Street, and they're going to come out. We're going to put new trees in, but there's a lot of marginal trees, and we're going to try and get them back by feeding them and hope for the best. And so we talked about the water. There was one tree. What did he say? There was one tree that could really take over 200 gallons a day, did he say? I couldn't even get over that.
He did. I think he was talking about one of those large sweet gums that was there.
My favorite, Bill.
Starve it.
So,
did you plant
I
it
couldn't believe
30 years ago?
200 gallons required a day for that. What is it getting? Nothing. But it seems to be surviving, Bill. It's going to,
Thriving.
yeah. But anyway, so I just wish that we could do that in all of our business district areas.
We'd have to figure out a way today, because I did look at it today when we went, and we have so many large trees on that side of Job's that we're
Yeah.
working on. That
Yeah.
the tree roots are going to prevent it unless we physically chainsaw those roots.
Don't you have a pretty good slope on that sidewalk towards the roadway?
On Job's?
Yeah,
You do. It's a very short,
it's a
area.
short, span, but I would think if you went in the concrete below it, it would drain towards the road.
I'm sorry, just putting
In
the,
other words, the irrigation, if you ran it in the concrete above the trees, it would drain down towards them.
I suppose you could. Really, what we started talking about just getting a trunk in there, so we would have the water feed, and then from there, we would have to come up, because they generally like to ring the trees and water from the top down.
That would be tough there.
And then if we put this under the sidewalk, obviously, we can't access that pipe anymore.
What if you did it instead of, I know that the way we talked about it on Main Street, we were going to put the sidewalk in and we were going to put the line close to the brick area so that we could tap into it. What if you did it, because Job's Lane is a narrower, really brick area and sidewalk, what if you did it as far away from it as possible and then ran a line under the concrete? I think your biggest concern was getting close to the tree and cutting some of those roots, but if some of them are heaving the sidewalk as it is, you're going to have to trim some of those back anyway, are you not?
We are, but what we have is the tree roots are growing up and over the existing sidewalk right now. So there's really nowhere to put that line unless we put it under the concrete sidewalk. You know, we can run from tree to tree, but then you'd have to come up, go across the tree and go back down. You know, or if we get creative and somehow cut it into the roadway and try to pull it from that side, you know, we could look at that in the future. But on the northern side, the roots are just preventing anything that'll go into that ground. You know, we're going to have to cut some root to get some of the sidewalk back into place that's heaving. But as far as putting a water line down in, we'd be really cutting into some big roots of those trees.
The north side, those trees are doing better than the south side, obviously, because the south side is, gets a lot of shade from the buildings. But I think we talked about this at one point when Fred had the Job's Lane Deli, and I remember talking to him, and he was upset over the tree out in front of him. There's nothing, this tree hasn't grown for the years that he was there, and then he started feeding it, and it started growing. So my thinking is, well, if we could irrigate that side eventually and maybe feed those, we might get some growth out of them, even though they're a little stunted because of, you know, the buildings. It's the same on Hampton Road. The ones on the south side of Hampton.
But to the east, it's stepped down. You know, it's not just an easy thing. So we're going to have to decide whether we're going to change that and put a gradual slant to the street. And if we do that, we'll be pulling the brick out and everything out. You know, but we may, again, because it's a narrow area, being in the street again and having to feed back up.
Right.
So, okay.
Well, we'll have to come up with something for that eventually.
But the map that you have, or what we just talked about, you know, right now, as best I can tell, is the figure of 228 grand. I'm going to guess it's going to be 30, 40,000 more by the extra work we added to it today. I should have those figures in a couple days. If you say go, then I got to get out there and start notifying people. And we also, our Parks Department's going to have to get out there and start pulling benches and things from the sides of the streets.
I support the sidewalk replacement program. It's something we have to do. It's going to inconvenience people for a little bit, but from a safety standpoint and the volume of trip and falls that we've had,
It's increased a lot.
it's just, I mean, you're right, it has dramatically increased over the last couple of years. And the truth is, I didn't actually realize how bad the sidewalks were until my granddaughter started walking. And then, I just watched them trip on everything, and then I realized how really bad
So Gary, what kind of concrete's going to go in there? I mean, do we have a choice of color? I mean, not color, but I mean, I've been in communities where it's white, and I hate that because it shows everything. Kind of like that old-looking concrete color. And you and I we talked about the one, some
Try
of the...
not to smile.
I know. I can't help it. But also, we talked about some of the sidewalks that have a lot of stone mixture, which is more money. You
Right.
said that's a lot more money.
We're looking at a Portland cement. It would be a very pale gray cement. We can go a little variety in the color
Can we
when
look
we
at
get
them?
down to it.
come over and look at them. Do you have samples over
No,
there?
not yet, not yet. But I could request it. All right?
Sorry, but
He knew, though, he knew it was coming, okay? He already knew.
I've been
Everybody
around, you
here
know.
knew it was coming. But you know what? All I have to say is thank
Well-
God for Nancy McGann, because she's put a very nice touch on this village of Southampton
But you know
with
what?
flowers and the groups you've worked with and things that you've done. Me,
Thank
I'd
you,
paint
but-
everything battleship gray is what I would do. And it just, I defer to you on all the beautification piece, and you do a fantastic job, so.
I can remember being down in Florida, and I think it is in West Palm, and they had, like, the sidewalks were so white, and I thought, well, this is really good here. And clean as a whistle, you know, I mean, just beautiful. But I wouldn't like that for here. I just think it, you know, I mean, you have so many food areas and gum and, you know, all sorts of stuff that'll just show on those white sidewalks, and we'll never get them clean. And so we really have to come up with something that might not show it as much, but be really sort of old and attractive. So that's what I'm looking for.
And also the surrounding sidewalk that won't get changed or not for a while.
Right.
And so we look at a pale gray to try to match up with the existing.
Right.
It won't have that nice worn-out stone look, because obviously it takes time, but same shade of gray would be preferable.
For those of you that are here that want to look at sidewalks, walk with your head down and keep looking at them and compare, because we do have a lot of sidewalks that have a mixed stone mixture in them, and they're fabulous looking. But Gary said that's a lot more money, so we won't probably get those.
Okay.
We'll
All
check
right.
that out then.
So we do have to write a purchase order up for this when I get the correct amount, but if you're all in favor of it, number one is we do have to get notification out. Maybe I can work with Julie on that,
Okay.
or the Chamber of Commerce, and
Both. What we should do is generate a letter and then hand deliver it to all the offices and all of the businesses along the area that are going to be affected, and then, notify the Southampton Press and get it to them. And maybe go to LNG and, notify that, so, yeah.
right? Is that a yes, or?
It's a yes from me.
It's a yes from me.
It's got thumbs up around from everybody, okay?
Overdue.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right, great. Thanks, Gary.
Thanks, Gary.
Okay. We have Town of Southampton Energy Sustainability Committee.
We're here to give away money.
I like that.
So thank you for letting us on your agenda tonight, talk about this really important topic of energy sustainability. My name is Lynn Arthur. I'm a volunteer on the Town Sustainability Committee, where I chair the Energy Subcommittee. And I'm here with John Murphy from Green Logic, and we're going to talk about a couple of state programs. But in the interest of time, we're going to just really hit the highlights of why, what, and how. And when we get to the how, there's really two parts to that. We are really interested to understand your recommendations on how best to get to your constituents in the village so that they will know about these programs. So at the state level, we've got the governor and the head of energy, the Department of Energy, his name is Richard Kaufman. And about a year ago, there were 3 objectives that were put out there. One of them was to have 50% of our energy come from renewable sources by 2030 as a target. The second one is the Clean Energy Standard, which became law on August 1st, which really lays out what's acceptable and what's not. And then the third thing is REV. REV stands for Reforming the Energy Vision. And what that's all about has to do with how the utilities operate. Now, you may or may not, we all know that LIPA is our energy provider, and PSE&G, they've outsourced day-to-day operations. PSE&G Long Island is a for-profit company, and LIPA is a state agency. There are competitive markets for energy everywhere in New York State except here. We're still under a monopoly, and I'm not going to get into any of because there's a long history and that would take hours. But notwithstanding, there are some processes that have, in some constructs, I'll call them, that have been introduced at the state level under Cuomo and Kaufman that will enable us to move in that direction. And we're working on some of those things with the town in the committee. But today we want to talk about these two programs. These programs are designed to get our, the taxpayers of the state, including small businesses, to start to embrace some of these new technologies, but also to change our behavior. Because there are some things that are necessary in order to, bring rates down. And these programs are remarkably undersubscribed. And literally, any homeowner the only thing we all have control over is our individual consumption. And on your bill, like on page 3 of your bill, there's two charges, more or less, that are based on consumption, the power supply and the transmission and distribution, because there are a bunch of numbers that are out of our control that are multiplied by your consumption. Now, this chart represents, every vertical line on this chart represents 1 hour of demand for electricity during the calendar year 2014. And this bill is very similar to on your bill for your household. There's a histogram. It's a graph that shows how much electricity that you used. Sounds familiar, right? You see on your bill for each month. So as you know, for 9 months of the year, January through May and October through December, we utilize a low amount of electricity because it's really air conditioning and pool pumps that really drive it up. So during the summer months when we have our population triples between Thursday and Sunday, what you're seeing on this chart, June, July, and August is when it's at its highest. And those horizontal lines are really arbitrary. 55. This chart also represents, by the way, 19,000 households that are east of the canal in Southampton town. So it's the circle at the top of that peak, that is what is the big problem. And if you remember, the Southampton Press in middle of August wrote an article, and Newsday did as well, about summer peak. And that's when demand exceeded supply. On August 14th at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, we blew through the threshold that was set 5 years earlier in June of 2011. And the reason why that is important, even though all of us pay a flat rate for electricity, when we blow through that threshold, what that does is it gives LIPA the authority to go out and build more capacity. But we're paying a flat rate for electricity, so we as individual consumers don't see that. Businesses see it because they're on a different model for how they pay for electricity, but we're not. So when that happened, there are 3 possible ways to solve that problem. Either LIPA builds more capacity to meet our demand. The second method is you live with a blackout. Now, at my house, I happen to live in North Sea, where North Sea and Watermill kind of come together. And I had a blackout that started at 4 o'clock and lasted for 6 hours. So because of my role in the town, and I spent a lot of time talking to LIPA and PSE&G, I corresponded with an engineer and said, hey, what's up? This is the 3rd time it's happened this summer, and it's been, one was 3 hours, one was 4 hours, and this last one was like almost 6 hours. And so he said, I'll get back to you. And he wrote me back and said, we've got some old wires up there are some issues with trees and what have you, but we've addressed, those problems, and you shouldn't see that again. But he said, by the way, you didn't have 3 outages, you actually had 7 blackouts. I mean, the other 4 I just didn't happen to notice. So live with the blackouts, build out capacity, but the other alternative to this is the adoption of new technology. So solar would shave the spikes off those peaks. And the other technology that you're going to be hearing a lot about next year are smart thermostats. Now, the difference between smart thermostats and programmable thermostats is that smart thermostats are Wi-Fi enabled. And that will allow from a central point in this case PSEG or another provider, to reach in and basically turn up the temperature in your house a couple of degrees so that it's not uncomfortable. But that would, again, address that peak. And the big takeaway from this chart is, while we're utilizing everything that you see there in black, we're paying for everything under the red line, because that's the amount of capacity that the utility has to make available to us so that when you turn on the switch, the lights come on.
So even if you're not using it, you're paying for it?
That's right. And that's why, if you take your total bill and divide it by your consumption, it comes out to about 22 cents a kilowatt hour right now. But we're paying for everything under the red line 365 days a year, but we're only using the black. It's a 40% capacity utilization. Okay, so as I said earlier, since they have the authority to build out additional capacity, this is what's actually going to happen in Montauk. These are temporary generators. This was reported in Newsday. I corresponded with one of the LIPA trustees, and he sent me these photographs. So if we don't do anything about these spikes, the fear is, and we've had conversations with Dave Daly, who's the CEO of PSEG Long Island, and he said, look, this is the consequence. We don't have a choice. They're going to approve the wind. You've read about that in the paper. It's going to happen at a special LIPA board meeting next month. But it's going to take them 4 years to build it. So these two trucks are going to go. There are going to be two of these installations out, one in Montauk and one in East Hampton. And right now there's none planned for Southampton. But, this is something that we have to address. Okay, so Green Homes. Green Homes is a program that's been around for years, but every year they've improved it. And what we're trying to do with residents is get them to sign up for these free home energy audits. And what's changed, and I'm going to ask Mackie Finnerty to talk in a second, but what's changed is now when you actually place an order for the audit, they do work when they're actually inspecting your house. So what I want to quickly tell the story about my house. I happen to have central air. I have a very modest 2,000 square foot house. It's all on one level. It's a contemporary, it doesn't have an attic. But they come in and they do that blower door test as a baseline. Then they go down into the baseline, they check any appliance that gas, this is for safety purposes, to make sure that there's no gas leakage. Then they check in the, they have this special device where they check to see where heat is leaking your house. But they went down into my basement, they spent 4 hours, and they sealed every single seam in the HVAC system. And then they came upstairs, and they replaced every single bulb in my house with a CFL or an LED. It's like whatever's on the truck. Now those bulbs are like, they're 10 to 15 bucks each. And that was all free and all done during the energy audit. Then they do a blower door test at the end, and then they send you in the mail a set of recommendations, on email, or sometimes they'll come back to you physically and present to you what their findings are, but they give you a list of here are all the things you can do to make your house more energy efficient, which is going to save you money. Here's what each one of those things cost, and here are the subsidies that you're eligible for. And then they tell you about a low-interest loan that's available from New York State. So New York State is trying to make this as easy as possible, bringing value to consumers in the very first meeting, and then helping them, motivating them to do more. And if you would just come up and just say from your seat a few words. Mackie experienced this audit process, and I've asked her to just, as a testimonial to the program.
We had the program several years ago. Some of you might remember the village cooperated with the town, and we sent out notices like 10,000 people or something. So I had my house done, and the house is over 100 years old. And they came in and did all the things that she just showed you, which is pretty amazing. I wanted to be there, and they'll let you follow them around and see all the reds and greens, and you've got air coming in here, and it's pretty fascinating, actually. And then they tell you what your house needs, and we did everything that they wanted done. And we figured out that we think it paid for in about 1.5 to 2 years. It was really quite painless. There was a federal subsidy on it. It was a different program. Roger Blau just had his done under this program, and just in the last couple months, right? I think, or Roger couldn't come tonight, he's in Florida. But they're very excited about it. He thinks they're already saving money, and they just installed this. And one of the things I like most about it was they didn't try to sell you stuff you didn't need. Like with our 100-year-old house, we have pretty old windows, and we know they leak. And we said, should we replace the windows? They said, no. Honestly, given your age and the age of this house, it will never pay back. Just, no, don't do the windows. So, whether that's insulting or not, I'm not sure. But they were honest, and we didn't replace the windows. So, anyway, I highly recommend it to anybody, and we've got a number of friends to do it, and we hope that a lot more people will do it. Thank you.
Great, thanks, Maggie. So, I've already covered this, but basically we're asking people to sign up. So I'm going to just bring up John, who's going to talk about the Solarize program.
Well, it's just real quick. So you're asking people to sign up. So how does one sign up?
Well,
Since we're on TV and we've got the press here, and
thank you.
Yeah.
Go to www.tryenergy.com.
.org, maybe?
.org, I'm sorry. And there's a red button at the top. Just click on the button and fill out the form. And how can we best get to your constituents? We've thought about doing a direct mail campaign. We have 2 grants, and they're very healthy. Yeah. We can do advertising. We can, radio, print.
I think.
What do you think?
Advertising in Southampton Press is one. I know the newsletter that the newsletter just went out, right? Yeah.
Well, this program's going to be active for the next 2 years, so we can get in the next one.
We should do something in the newsletter, which would be great. Get it out to the Chamber of Commerce.
Yeah, we're meeting with them. We're meeting with everybody. Lions, Kiwanis. We have a school with a high school
I'm wondering
program.
if
Science.
because they have the Builders Club at the intermediate school, and that is Bill might know somebody involved there, but Mrs. Palumbo and that whole crew. But I think that would actually be a great project for those guys to figure out a way to get it out to the community, and maybe that's a way to do it. So it's a really
Great. The Builders Club.
They think in terms of solar energy. They talk to us about big belly trash cans, and they're doing a lot of stuff. So, and I know that Nick Palumbo is very involved with the college and.
Cool.
Use our webpage.
Yeah, if we could put it on our webpage, would be a
We
great
booked a
idea.
date at the Arts Center.
Okay.
So we're going to publicize and encourage people to attend that.
And maybe, as the summer season rolls around, we could do some type of, signage or something like that
No, the panels that we use are predominantly made by SunPower. They're based out of Southern California. They are the most energy efficient panels with the best warranties. Standard efficiency panels might have warranties of anywhere between 15 to 20 years. So the panels that the town would be getting, the residents would be getting, have better warranties than standard panels.
If you have a house that's facing south, and you know that you have to have the solar panels do that, so how do you convince your wife to put solar panels on there so that way it's
on the front of the house, you're saying?
aesthetically pleasing?
Well, you'll have to take that offline after the meeting. I'll give you
Had that
pointers.
debate over the last couple of years, so, yeah, okay.
So again, all of this is free, and you know, I encourage the residents of the town to take advantage of this program. Thank you very much.
You guys have any questions for me? No. Anything like that? Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot. Thank you.
What's my life expectancy?
Another 37 years, Bill.
What'd they give Mackie?
Great. Thanks. Okay. So we have, for the board presentations, we have no public hearings, no communications, and we have resolutions.
Item 1, resolve the reading of minutes for the public session of October 13, 2016 be dispensed with, and both minutes be accepted as filed by the board administrator. The action taken at the meeting being hereby are ratified and approved.
Make the motion.
Second?
Second.
In favor?
Abstain, it wasn't here, so.
Abstain. I abstain.
Item 2, resolve that the claims for the warrants dated October 25, 2016 totaling $555,444.69. Warrants set in the general fund, $92,386.15 capital return plan with the pay rate increase from 30 to 2016 be ordered. Motion? Second?
Second.
Discussion. Page 1, CSE Employee Benefit Fund, November insurance premium, $26,055. Cameron Engineering and Associates, Sewer District, traffic study and parking study, $11,000. Dunn Engineering, traffic study for the ambulance center, $6,280. East Coast Mines and Materials, screen sand for the Parks Department, $1,227.84. Page 2, First Presbyterian Church, parking lease for November, $3,000. Fluid imagery, Wi-Fi at 25 Jobs Lane, $1,355. Fundamental business services, court collection fees for parking, September, $6,541.50. Page 3, JP Mulvey Plumbing and Heating, Village Hall boiler maintenance, $1,305.81. Mobile fleet, 2 payments, $1,001.16 and $2,358.72 for ambulance lights for the vehicles. Page 4, New York State Employees Health Insurance for November, $274,396.55. Page 5, PSE&G, Long Island Collection Services, traffic signal lights, $1,218.39. Page 6, Rapid Recovery, calling for PD, $1,400. Red Uniform Tailor, PD uniforms, $2,314.29. Rocket Insulation, new insulation at Police Headquarters, $6,100. Page 7, you got payments to Rosemar Construction for paving at Captain's Neck Lane, $23,470 and $3,828.26, and Great Plains, $126,690 at $8,095.71. Safety marking, lines painting for the Highway Department, $9,914.14. Sound actuarial consulting services, the GASB 45 valuation, which we have to do every 3 years, $7,500. Stryker Sales Corp. Stretchers maintenance agreements for the ambulance, $2,197.50. Page 9, Town of Brookhaven dumping fees, $4,124.70, and Verizon phone bill for September, $3,710.90. Page 10, Westburg tree equipment for the Highway Department, $1,550.80. Second warrant is a capital reserve warrant, grant a truck and utilities, a utility body, replacement utility body for highway vehicle, $12,477. Hampton Copy, ambulance bid docks, $1,705.58 and $2,262.80. And Rosemar Construction, repair of the floor at 25 Windmill Lane, Firehouse, $75,880. Further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Item 3, resolved that a public hearing be held at 6 p.m. on Thursday, November 10th, 2016, in the boardroom, Village Hall, 23 Main Street, Southampton, New York, 11968, to hear citizens' views on the local needs with respect to the community development block program for the year 2016. Can I have a motion?
Make that motion.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Item 4, whereas at a duly held meeting on October 11th, 2016 of the Town Board of the Town of Southampton, it was resolved to acquire approximately 11 acres located on Moses Lane in the Village of Southampton from Beach Plum Meadows LLC through the Town of Southampton Community Preservation Project Plan. And whereas it is the intent that the town and the village will enter into intermunicipal agreement providing for active and/or passive park development and maintenance by the village. So therefore, bless you, be resolved that the Village of Southampton hereby supports the purchase of said property through the Town of Southampton Community Preservation Fund, and be it further resolved that the village will commit to maintain and manage the property along with making improvements to the property, all at the expense of the village, with the understanding that plans must be approved by the Town Board of the Town of Southampton. And be it further resolved that the park will be equally accessible to town residents as it will be for village residents. Can I have a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Second?
Second.
Discussion?
Discussion, this is a request from the town board that, it's pretty standard on every property that we've purchased with community preservation. We have began preliminary discussions with Arias Design to help do a master plan for the park, which most of it would be, the goal is to do as maintenance-free as possible, but yet provide some recreational activities such as tennis courts and Rich's pickleball court there. And
Skateboard.
and so, but those are things that he's working on at this point in time. I do know that we're going to work. Ed Corrigan actually had reached out to me about volunteering to get involved and help support as they have some plantings that they'd like to donate some.
Yes.
So that's kind of the genesis of this resolution here, and meets some of the requirements. So if you guys had any other questions or anything, comments? No.
Clear?
All in favor?
Aye.
Item 5, resolved that the Board of Trustees hereby approves the following payments from the Capital Reserve Fund, subject to permissive referendum. Janitor Truck and Utility, $12,477 from Major Equipment Reserve, and Rosemont Construction, $75,880 from the Fire Facility Reserve. Motion? Second? All in favor?
Aye.
Last item is resolved that the Board of Trustees hereby approves attached schedule of budget transfers to eliminate overages for the period ending October 25th, 2016. Have a motion?
Make the motion.
Second?
Second.
Discussion. Item 1 is $2,000 out of police contractual, $1,000 going to police equipment, and $1,000 police miscellaneous. Item 2 is $1,000 out of safety inspections part-time going into overtime. Item 3 is $500 coming from Cooper's Beach materials, $1,500 from Cooper's Beach salaries, with $2,000 going to Cooper's Beach contractual. All in favor?
Aye. So, discussion items here. We have, we talked, I spoke a little bit about roads A through G. And what we're doing right now, we're doing some minor clearing of, to provide an access to meet the requirements of the deed transfer from August 6, 1956, from the trustees of the freeholders in the commonalty of the town of Southampton to the incorporated village of Southampton. And what it says is that the purpose of laying out the parcels in question for public roads over which the public may travel to and from the beach. And that's the goal. So to allow travel from basically Meadow Lane to the beach, and that's what we're doing is clearing that. So, like I said earlier, I'm not in favor of providing any type of parking along these letter roads, and that And I'm just in favor of opening it up and meeting the requirements here. So I don't know if anybody else has any comments on this. We've asked the village attorney to generate some legislation in reference to designating these letter roads as no parking. I know you were looking at how to do that, and some ideas around that, but he hasn't begun drafting that up at this point in time. So hopefully at the next meeting we'll have draft legislation to put out and study. So if you guys had any comments.
Yes, I had a conversation with the mayor about this. I think it would be my recommendation that we not put this in the vehicle and traffic, Chapter 110, where we regulate all kinds of vehicle and traffic stuff. I think this is a special situation, and that we should probably put it in a separate chapter. We have a Chapter 86 in the Village Code right now, which covers permit parking on various road ends along the Ocean Beach, where we require permits. Probably that chapter is a logical place to put in a no parking regulation, because it makes more sense to put it in a separate chapter rather than lump it in with the vehicle and traffic code. So I will, the mayor has asked me to prepare something, so I will have something for the next meeting.
Can I just say one thing?
Sure.
Yeah. I just wanted to mention, I know I'm probably in a minority, but I think for some time I've made it clear about uninhibited access to the beach for everyone. So I know, it's a step in the right direction that we're clearing it out as per request and requirement, whichever way you want to put that. But I don't think it's if we're going, restrict parking and making it an actual code, I'm not exactly for. I understand the reasoning behind it, but again, I just don't think that's not something that I'm personally for.
Is it possible to do it in a way, I agree with you that right now I wouldn't like to see parking there. God knows how you feel 4 years down the line or 10. And if you ever wanted to make a change to that, are we locked into it, or can we still?
No, it would be code. You just go in and change the code and amend the code.
No, I agree with what you're doing.
So
it's nice to know that you can, once it's up and you've got a good look at it, maybe someday you feel differently. So, and you could do something about it. Good.
If you ever wanted to make it a parking area, you'd probably want to make it a permit parking area, like we have other parking areas that require permits to park. And so that's another reason to put it in this separate chapter, so that it'll be a separate article and it would be easy to change at some future date.
Mark, we got really two issues there.
Right.
Parking is irrelevant to access. I mean, there's a number of other trustee roads in the village of Southampton, access down to ponds and stuff, and I don't think that we have parking on those. And here we're providing access to the entire town of Southampton, not just to the village, on these access points on the letters. But the idea of parking is a whole different concept.
Right.
And should be addressed as such. And I think it probably should be, if you're going to put it in a code, it should be a separate entity.
Yeah.
I think part of the problem here is that people look at an access and say, well, that's great, we have an access, but how do we get to it? Because if we can't park on the road, we really can't access. So therein lies the issue. However, and that's what they're all thinking, I think it's terrific. One of those accesses might be near that walkway that goes to the bayside, and you thought that there might be an access there. So if somebody wanted to park at the walkway that goes down into the bay, they could walk across the street and access it. But, I don't know if we have a need for this, for parking lots at this point. I mean, if you look in season, we still have, granted, Cooper's Beach is packed, you can't get to it. And I'm sure Little Plains is packed, and I'm sure Old Town Road is packed. But Kreider, I'm not sure. We still have Dune Beach, which I realize is also, that never is full, and that's just a resident-only beach. And then, of course, we have the picnic area. So, I mean, it's not like we don't have beaches for people. We have beaches for people. Should it get to the point at some time down the road where we have, the demand outweighs the supply, then maybe what you were saying, Bill, then maybe we can take a look at it.
I'd just like to have the
Yeah, and we
ability
can do that.
to change your mind. But I agree with you.
I just get fearful of breaching the integrity of our dune system.
Right.
And the more these letter roads that we open up and we allow vehicles to get over there and people go back and forth, we are impacting the integrity of the dune system. There's a reason why they developed the coastal erosion line and that they push all building back off of that, and there's a reason for that. And there are 7 trustee letter roads along Meadow Lane. That area, Meadow Lane, that entire stretch right there is a barrier beach, and it protects the mainland and the Shinnecock Nation and the bay and all of the area, and that's what it's designed for. And we have a responsibility to try to prevent breaches in that system. And I know that there's a part of our code that allows the village board to just identify the areas in which you can travel over the dunes. And none of these areas actually are part of that. So, it's but I mean, we heard it when John came in here. He wants parking in those roads.
Well,
And that's,
he didn't stay around to hear the reasons
Yeah.
why we don't.
but I've told him. But the town trustees, if the town trustees, if they choose to come back and try to take the road, they will open parking up on there. And
But they understand the barrier beach, and they understand the importance of the dunes. They understand all of that. I mean, remember when we weren't allowed to touch anything?
Right.
Along, as far as
Yeah.
bulkheading was concerned, and the town trustees said, no hard surfaces, no this, no that. Now they're going to come back and tell us they're going to create parking. They never created parking.
Right.
They never created accesses.
Right.
So let them do that in their own beaches.
Things change with need, Nancy.
Right.
I don't see, I
well,
don't
first-
see the need
yeah.
right at this
Well,
particular time.
The unfortunate part is that entire spit is very narrow.
Yeah, it is.
The vegetation that grows there, the natural vegetation, forget the turf grass that we replaced, unfortunately, a lot of the natural vegetation with, is a very important part of the ecosystem because it does restrict wind-blown sand and it restricts the water penetration through that area. I'll tell you just a real quick story of a landscaper one time to show you how fragile that area is. A landscaper a little bit farther down told me, he goes, the guy called me up and said he wanted to move some sand around and some dirt because he wanted to put down some turf grass. He goes, we took one shovelful and the whole backyard filled up with water.
Wow.
And I went, bingo, it's high tide.
Right.
Right.
That tide system comes underneath that road and comes into the other side. And if you start taking away that vegetation, you widen those areas, you institute more and more beach travel up and down, as Mark said, the road, you wear away the dune structure. The first high tide surf that comes through there is going to follow that road right down.
Absolutely.
And, building a parking lot isn't going to help.
First off, I don't think all the roads should be open in the first place. Some of them cannot be, especially the one next to Dune Beach there. And the majority of Saubat don't want them all open as well. I think part of the issue that really got a lot of people up in arms were the two roads that are fairly clear, A and C, I believe, or A and D. And they were cleared by the homeowners so they could use for their personal use for their landscaping. So you have to understand a lot of the frustration was not to open up. That's part of it. There is some faction of that, clearly, but that's not the majority. I think part of the frustration was that they were all, I'm talking about roads already, especially A, across from the Bowman's Landing, T-Bone's Landing, thank you. That was cleared in large part by the homeowners. So I think that's part of the frustration. So those already are cleared out, and I think people, if they're going to be there, then those are already for public use.
Good job.
Well, clear. So those are the ones that are being that the people I think just want access to, and to possibly park or not, whatever. That's we'll go for. But I think that needs to be remembered. That's part of the frustration. And one of the homeowners who cleared it out had the audacity to put up a chain barring entry.
Right.
So you have to. I think that's a large part of where this comes, and I agree with that because that's you know.
Do you know what? I think
Putting up
people,
a
when they see an access like that, they think that if they take over the access, they're going to win that property through eminent domain. So if they put up a chain and nobody uses it and they're using it, they think after 7 years they own it. But you don't do that with the municipality.
I think those people are smart.
Never,
Exactly.
ever do that with the municipality.
I don't think those are their intent. I think they're smart enough. They're pretty astute people that live along there. I think they would just being ballsy is what they were doing, and that's what really annoyed people. Pardon my French, but that is what annoyed the people, is that they were clearing it for personal use.
But
That, so that's, I think that gets overlooked as a lot of what
But
this
from the
discussion
village's
is.
standpoint, as representatives of the village, to protect the village and the village residents, is that the comments were made by town trustees that they were going to, that we were not maintaining all of the letter roads, and that they were going to start to take those letter roads back in accordance with the deed. And even John came in here and stated that.
Yeah, I don't think it's legally feasible, and I don't think that would ever happen.
And we've had members of the Saba group who've come in here who've said that they want us to create parking in all of these trustee roads where the town, these letter roads, where the town has put forth no efforts to increase parking where they own property in Sagaponack and Bridgehampton and Watermill and Hampton Bays and East Quogue, and the list goes on and on and on. And there's plenty of opportunities because they've used CPF monies to purchase properties to where they could do parking, beach access, drive-on opportunities, and they keep shifting this burden onto the village of Southampton and the village taxpayer.
I know
It's
that.
just completely unfair.
And I'm fully aware of that, because in another world last year, I was embroiled, I was in the middle of that, so I'm very clear on that, and I also know the obligation of representing our village taxpayers. But again, that's why the most people I speak to aren't for clearing. I don't think we should clear every bit we can. There's the two I just mentioned have been cleared. You start with that. I don't even think we need to clear all of them.
There's no, this is not left up to interpretation now. It's the only reason why we can't clear something or provide a path is if it's wetlands. And the one next to Dune Beach is the only one in which there's wetlands that you can't access Meadow Lane to the ocean front. So we don't have a choice as to whether or not we want to do this or that. We have to be consistent across each one of those roads, and that's what we have to do. So, but said I'll be introducing that with Rick's help at the next meeting, and we'll go from there. So, any other comments or concerns about this?
No.
Okay. Cool. So we're done with discussion items here. So comments from board members there? Trustee Yaz.
No more to add other than what I just said. But also, I'm glad that we're going forth with the sidewalks. That has been long overdue, and so that's public safety is a big issue there, so I'm glad that we're starting on that.
Mike.
Well, we sort of got a dilemma in a lot of our projects here. Because, most of this, one of the beautiful things in this village, and I think Gibbs had touched on it, is that we are sort of a walking village. And, I bored everybody in the spring telling them about deciding the first R sprays and that summer was coming. Well, fall is coming because we got the wind out of the northwest, and if you take a walk down by Lake Agawam, you'll see groups of Canadian geese that are starting to get into big bunches with the intent of heading south, those lucky guys. And there's a lot of activities going on in our bays. And it always sort of makes me think when we come across these parking issues. We provide access to the beach. Does everybody have to drive a car? I mean, are we so into vehicles that nobody can walk? Nobody can park at Road D and walk down to the beach and take a look? Nobody can park in the village and take a walk around the village. We need big parking lots. We constantly talk about parking. So I would stress to everybody, try to leave the car at home. Go for a walk, because it is one beautiful village and it's one beautiful fall.
Yeah, very true. Very true. Nancy?
Well, I had an interesting, was it Thursday, I think. No, today's Tuesday. It was Monday. Was it Monday? Yesterday. How about that? The press was there. Tom Edmonds extended a very sort of late invitation out because a Jeffrey Wheeler came from Southampton, England, to discuss how in 2020 will be the 400th anniversary of the Mayflower coming to the United States. So he's trying to get together people interested in Southampton and people from Plymouth, I believe, and so we had a little luncheon over there to meet with him. So it was very, very interesting. So stay tuned. I'll keep you posted. We have a few years to go. But it was interesting, actually.
Be time for another election in 2000.
Yeah.
Right. Oh, God. Don't
Kill the
even.
memories of this one,
Right.
Don't get Bill going.
Don't get Bill going.
I have nothing to offer.
Okay. Just, tonight we approved the payment of the installation in the police department. And Chief, I think it's going well with the atmosphere control in the police department. I know that one of the things that we've had some problems in there. So, but I think it's, from what I understand, I think it's doing well. Yes, no, maybe? It's cold. Okay. All right, good. So the Hamptons Marathon, which I think was a big success. I've gotten just positive feedback, where they want to come back, and I think it's, we're working on a date with that. So, the September Fest was great, but next year, actually, there's some conflicts around Jewish holidays and stuff. So we're looking at potential change in that date and pushing it it'll be the Southampton Fest, not really at September Fest. We're looking at an October date for that. So Julie's Sunday is the Ragamuffin Parade, 1 o'clock, Agawam Park. The student council at the high school is going to be down there helping out with the Chamber of Commerce. And Saturday is with Little Lucy's pet parade, dog parade. So you want to dress up your dog and parade him through the village, go for it. I'm not sure what time it starts. So, but Now, some good stuff. And then, obviously, we have Veterans Day that comes up on November 11th, which is important that everybody go out and support the veterans. And if you're a veteran and I encourage you to participate and march in the parade and get involved. And we have a lot of veterans in this area that don't participate. So I think it's very important. And, that starts at, the parade starts at 10:45 at the Presbyterian Church, and services start at 11 o'clock. And down at the Vets Hall. So I encourage everybody to participate. So, yep.
Just saying one thing about the marathon. I just want to, Chief, I want to thank all our departments that participated, obviously all our DPW that did the prep work and so forth, but all our first responders. There was a lot of bodies on hand, our SVVA, our fire department, spread around the equipment, but just the police presence alone, I want to thank, obviously, all our department was on hand, the New York State Police that sent out a good showing to help, and Suffolk County PD who sent up their command center and the technology. So, again, Chief, on behalf, I want to thank all those that participated and made that a successful day and a safe day.
Oh, that's a great point.
A lot of agencies were involved in that to pull that off.
Yeah. So, thanks for bringing that up. So, and then also we also had approved an expenditure for Cameron Engineering and the studies, the parking and the traffic studies. We just got the results back. Actually, I haven't had a chance to look at it, but
Yeah, I'm going to print out a set.
we'll put it out to everybody so everybody can look at it and study it and stuff. So I'm very curious to see what the results were around that.
Right.
So, but it's so with that being said, we are at a second public comment time here. So anyone else wish to make comment? No? Okay. I'm going to make a motion to adjourn to executive session for the purpose of discussing personal matters involving village employees and legal issues.
Second?
Aye.